What's going on, guys? Welcome to another edition of Gear Breaker Nation with your excellent assessment and reviews. And in this video, we're going to be reviewing Supergirl Season 1, Episode 7, Human for a Day. In this episode, it starts off with Supergirl is recovering from her fight with Red Tornado. Supergirl is hooked up to this machine, which is emitting like solar energy onto her skin. She drained nearly all of her abilities, and it's taking some time to recharge. Now, Superman has been known to do this also, and he ends up getting his powers back over a course of a few days, allowing his body to recover. So the same thing is presented here with Supergirl. They get this, Kara and Alex end up talking once again about Hank, and they end up talking about how they distrust him and how he has secrets and things about concerning their father, and that they don't really trust this guy. Kara managed to get back to Catco where she's with Win, and Win actually sees that she's coughing, and everybody's kind of knows that's kind of out of place for her because she doesn't get sick. So Cat doesn't want to get sick, so she ended up sending Kara home. Okay, back at the DEO headquarters, you got Hank here with Alex, and they end up confronting this alien known as Jim. And Jim, for the most part, really doesn't really impress me. They said he was like a world conqueror, but I honestly do not see it. So for the moment, I just don't like Jim. I think he's pretty much a douchebag and a waste of a character. You got Jimmy and Kara sitting here at again talking about the situation that everything's been going down. And next thing you know, this really big ass earthquake ends up hitting the city. During this chaos with the earthquakes and everything, Kara is nearly killed, and of course Jimmy ends up saving her, but she ended up breaking her arm in the course of it. And you kind of see that she's really shocked because she's now feeling pain. First was the glass from the previous episode. Now we got a broken arm in this episode. And of course, back at the DEO headquarters, the earthquake affects that place too because Jim ends up escaping, and now the whole facility is on lockdown. Convenient, right? Okay, Jimmy and Kara end up going back to Catco, and of course they're trying to get everything situated, and then they end up watching the news, and of course the douchebag known as Max, it just pops up in the news, and he's sitting here trashing Supergirl once again. And it's like, what the hell is up with this guy trashing Supergirl? It's like, don't you have a life? I mean, we already see that you're already kind of like obsessed with her, but it's like, come on, dude. We got more important things to be pulling on. Now, I do agree with him when he says that humans should rely more on humans and not rely on Superman and Supergirl to do everything. But to go out your way to be just a douchebag to this girl for apparently no reason whatsoever, I don't know what the hell Kara was thinking, but I guess she gets pissed off because Max is constantly just trashing her. So she decides to go down there and confront him about the situation along with Jimmy. I don't know what the hell Jimmy was thinking he was going to do, but he ends up going anyway. Of course, at the DEO headquarters, they sitting here trying to mobilize to hunt down Jim and then recapture him. So Hank goes out with these two people, with these two officers, operatives, what do you want to call it, with these headbands, because Jim's ability is to control people's minds. So the headbands are made to to disrupt that. So while they go out there to try to go hunt this guy, it's all really suspenseful, I give it that. But then Jim ends up ambushing them, and you don't really know what the hell happens. Then you got Kara and Jimmy actually confronting Max about the situation. And of course, he's a complete douchebag. So he gives his reasons that kind of understandable, but just the way that he does things, it just makes him come off as a complete dick. And for some reason I don't understand, which I hate the fact that they actually do this. Max actually like guessed everything that happened to Supergirl. He knew about the fight with Red Tornado. He knew that she drained her powers. And like, I don't understand that. With the same aspect where he knew about Superman losing his powers when he overexerts himself. And I'm like, how the freak do you know this? How would you know this? You don't even know this chick. You don't know her circle or something. I mean, there's got to be more to him. He's got to have a spy or something around. I don't know. Maybe Jimmy's the spy, maybe Wynn's the spy, something like that, because he is just way too accurate with his assumptions. And I don't like that about his character. It should be like he's trying to find out as well as, you know, keep it as a guessing game, a cat and mouse game. But it's like, how can you play cat and mouse when this dude knows everything? When something happens, he automatically knows everything about Supergirl. Like, I really hate that about his character. But anyways, of course, this woman ended up running up to them specifically, and she's trying to get help for this dude that's in this car. And of course, these three agree to go help. Hank and the operatives are gone missing. They don't know what the hell has happened. Alex is trying to figure out what's going on. And of course, she doesn't trust Hank. So what she decides she wants to do is she's going to go on a hunt for Jim herself, along with another one of the operatives named Donovan, who seems like a pretty decent guy. Back at Catco, Cat is trying to figure out how to hook up the generators and stuff so she can broadcast her own little speech and message, which she's pretty cool for thinking of that. And with Wynn's help, who she ends up kind of having a moment with, and I actually kind of like that she actually he actually becomes pronounced in her eyes, so she ends up seeing him for the first time. And it's pretty cool because he actually shows his technical skills, which does garner the attention of Cat. So kudos to that scene. I really enjoyed it. I feel like Wynn is pretty much an underdog. Back where Kara, Max, and Jimmy is trying to help this guy, he end up finding out that without her power, she really can't do anything. And then the man, of course, ends up dying. And it's a very emotional moment for her because she hasn't had somebody die on her watch since she's been Supergirl, really. Well, she has, but this was a bit different because she doesn't have her powers. Now she feels even more helpless. Jimmy does talk to her and does comfort her a bit. So there is that. That's one of those moments where I believe it's like a developing arc for her, and it does work because I did feel an emotional connection with her on that part. So you got Alex and Donovan end up going on a hunt for Jim, and of course something happens, and then Jim gets the upper hand, and Donovan gets control. So now Alex is pretty much left on her own, and it's much unfortunate because Donovan was a pretty cool guy. And Carol finds that there's this robbery going on, and despite her not having the powers and she having a broken arm, she still goes to confront the robber there. And I do appreciate this moment because at the same time that Supergirl is there trying to deal with this robbery, Cat goes live and delivers this well thought and well executed speech, and it kind of parallels the same thing with what Supergirl is doing, and she ends up disarming a robber, but in a very peaceful way. He actually just gives up the weapon, and it's like that was a really well thought out and a very standout moment because it does show the best in humanity and where words actually overcome violence. And I think that Supergirl and Cat really nailed this scene together as the two parallels go. So that was a pretty cool moment. Of course, back at DEO, Alex ends up running into Hank, and she confronts him about her distrust of him, about the fact that she knows the secret about her father and Hank, how Hank was the last person to see her father alive. And then she ends up handcuffing Hank and going to confront Jim herself. Back at Catco, you got Kara sitting here talking with Jimmy, and again, they have a very special moment. But unfortunately, Wynn walks in on him, and you can see how hurt he is, and how it's good to actually kind of see Kara kind of, react to the fact that he likes her a bit. You can tell that this guy's hurting. You can tell that she feels kind of bad for it. They have a bit of an argument, but then another earthquake hits. Back at DEO, you got Alex sitting here going to confront Jim, and I gotta give it to her. She went completely all out. She went pretty badass, and despite her most badass, this was pretty much Alex's badass moment. And despite it, she did get her ass whooped, and Jim does nearly kill her for it. But of course, a mysterious figure comes out of nowhere and takes down Jim. But she doesn't get a chance to see it because the lights and stuff are knocked out. So Hank ends up showing up and basically saying, he should have listened to her. Back at Catco, Kara, Jimmy, and Wynn end up finding out there's people that's stuck on the floor or two above them. So what they set out to do is for Jimmy to climb up the elevator shaft, open up the doors, and help the people out. So they end up doing that. But at the last moment, before Jimmy can go to safety, he ends up falling and nearly dies. And what do you know? Supergirl ends up getting her powers back, and she saves him. So I thought that was pretty cool. It was like a bit of a convenient moment, but I thought it was done really well. And afterwards, now that she got her superpowers back, she goes around the city saving people. Okay, now at this time, we back at the DEO, and Alex and Hank have a conversation, which Hank reveals himself to be the totally badass Martian Manhunter known as John Jones, and explains that while back in the day when Hank, the real Hank, and her father went to come confront Johns because they found out that he was an alien. Her father tried to help Johns while Hank tried to kill him. So her father sacrificed himself for John Jones, and John Jones ended up promising her father that he was going to watch out for them. So that's why she got inducted to the DO. That's why Supergirl, everything. He ends up taking Hank's place because he's a shapeshifter. And I gotta say, I like his design. I never liked the Justice League design where he was like half naked, but I like this design that he had in this where he had the red crosses and the black suit, and I like the way that his facial structure. So I really did appreciate the look. They actually took this serious, and I have to give him kudos for that. And of course, he is the one that took out Jim. Of course, this explains him disarming that bomb in a previous episode. This explains the whole eyes flashing red. Kara is trying to talk to Win, and you can tell that he's disappointed and hurt at her. And he even makes a point, and even though he's kind of saying it out of his disappointment, he's also telling the truth that Kara is sitting here putting herself in a position with Jimmy when Jimmy has somebody. And even though they both like each other, they have to respect the fact that Jimmy has somebody. Later on, Supergirl, of course, has another chat with Kat, and you can tell that by this time they're a bit closer, and I like it that they kind of have a moment together. I really appreciated the conversation, but Supergirl ends up taking off, and of course, who shows up? None other than Astra, who ends up pretty much ambushing Supergirl. So this was a pretty good, decent episode. It was good to see her be a little bit more grounded, especially the fact when she loses her power. Now she feels helpless, but she has to sympathize with humans now because those are the people she has to deal with considering her powers. So I like that she got knocked down a level so she could see how humanity is. Jim is one of the biggest wastes of time in the show. I really did not care for him. He was just there. I would have been more appreciative had it have been a situation where Alex and Hank were stuck down there and they had to sit here and just deal with the situation like that. I really didn't like Jim. The earthquake, I thought Earthquake was pretty much a decent antagonist for the episode. So I thought that was done really well. I really enjoyed the episode. I like the fact that she was human. I like how a little bit more of these things are being fleshed out. And I really like the cliffhanger of an ending with Astra showing back up because she's completely badass. In the comment section below, guys, you know what time it is. I'm not going to grade any more of the episodes. I'm just going to sit here and grade the season when I get done reviewing it. But yeah, comment section below, let me know what your thoughts is on the episode. And I guess I'll catch you guys in the next edition of Gear Baker Nation. And remember, keep those gears turning.